What is going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. It's time for another installment of Pokemon and Magic the Gathering distribution update. And we're going to touch on some other games. We do have some news and some updates. So in no particular order off the top of my head, Hololive, which is not on here, has actually sold reasonably well. Here it is. And this was a set or a game that I think I mentioned. I tested it at Gamma. It was kind of boring. It plays a lot like Pokemon. But the first set has sold reasonably well on TCG Player. And I'll say check the boxes were it's $70. I don't know where they're at now, but it's moving. It's moving. So speaking of new games, Godzilla I think is finally shipping Monday. It was supposed to ship 2 weeks ago, and then it got delayed getting to distro. The boxes are still sitting $50, $55. Probably because nobody knows what they look like because people haven't got their product yet. But what's interesting is the orders just came out for the second set. Release date is October 25th. So it's kind of interesting. And we put a bunch of boxes up on our site. I think we put 100 boxes up for Discord members, and we sold almost all of them. And I think what's interesting here is the fact that the boxes are $50, $55. It's a much smaller bite for people to take than, dropping $150 on one of the other boxes on, your play boxes. I mean, obviously Pokemon's over $200 for new releases. But, Flesh and Blood, stuff like that, the boxes are $130 before tax. So, having a $50 box, it's kind of refreshing. And I was actually surprised that so many people kind of bought it. Sorcery, we talked about this last week with this Ed Beard Jr. thing. We'll see what happens. We have no idea when the next set's coming out. Supposedly fall, but their team's a disaster. So it's not even worth talking about. Weiss. So the only update I have here is Nikki is shipping on the 29th. So on Tuesday, it is shipping out to distributors. So I would imagine by the 5th, 6th, 7th of August, we'll have these. What I am told is, it does say reprint here, it is the exact same configuration as the first edition boxes. So promos and playmats. So take it for what it's worth. Riftbound. I have heard nothing on Riftbound. I know they had a big push for organized play. I think that was either ended last week or it's ending this week. So I'm sure they're going to use organized play to push allocations and things like that. So if you're looking to buy Riftbound, I would play that card as quickly as you can. You don't ever have to actually run events, but you do have to sign up for organized play and at least play the part early on. So we signed up. We fully intend to run events here like we do for all the other games. So we'll see. Gundam. So Gundam, the third set orders came out last week. They're due this week. Some of the distributors, I believe, closed last Friday. But what's interesting here, and there's a lot of confusion early on, it looks like Bandai has gone to the distributors and said, you can only sell product to stores that are signed up for Organized Play A and who have selected you as your Organized Play distributor. So I've gotten only boxes from our Organized Play distributor. So that's kind of interesting to see. We'll see what happens going forward. The third booster box, or the third set, is up for pre-order in Bandai fashion. It doesn't come out until the end of January. So we'll see what happens. We've started to get boxes in. It looks like it's coming in 2 waves, with the first wave being relatively small, the second wave being 2 to 3 times out of the first wave. So we'll see what happens. One Piece, not on the southern side here, but One Piece, I have not heard anything for allocations on OP12, which is coming out in August. I would expect to hear something from that this week, but we'll see. moving to Magic, and we're blowing through this pretty quickly this week, which is nice. Flesh and Blood, again, new set comes out in September as well, I believe, with the dumbest set name in the history of sets. Super Slam, Summer Slam, whatever. Yeah, comes out 9/26. So every set in the world is coming out on 9/26. You have Mega Evolutions, you have Spider-Man, you have Flesh and Blood. Then the week after, you have Riftbound. It's going to be a nice 6 weeks of not having to deal with releases, and then all of a sudden they're going to cram a ton of them down our throat. Magic the Gathering. So I would anticipate starting to see, and I do have a couple allocations so far for for the Spider-Man and for Avatar. What's interesting is that the Avatar orders are due a couple days before Spider-Man is. Um, I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but I've talked at length about how the total population of play boxes is down quite a bit to distribution. I fully believe, the more I think about it, um, I don't think they cut the print runs on these. I think WotC has held product back to sell on Amazon direct to consumer. I think what they saw with Final Fantasy, and I think again this was probably accidental because they fucked up their print run numbers and they underprinted and underestimated what the demand was going to be. They can cut print runs or shorten print runs by 10%, and then all of a sudden they can sell boxes for 75% more direct to consumer on Amazon. And again, they've always been jealous of Pokemon Center. Um, Probably not now because there's nothing on there, but uh, in my opinion, that's what they're doing. I know Spider-Man, I think I've mentioned this, that the play box supply to distribution is approximately 20% less than Edge of Eternity's. Avatar is only 5% less. So I think, again, they're holding these play boxes back to sell direct to consumer. They exist now. It's going to prop up the market because they're going to sell them at or slightly above market. But it's going to be a little bit more difficult for people to get sizable allocations from distribution. That being said, I did hear a couple rumors. For those of you who buy a lot of the play mats and things like that, every now and then you'll have one of the manufacturers come out a little bit early and spoil some of the stuff. So 2 items here. There are Ultra Pro Final Fantasy SKUs. They're brand new SKUs. Some of you probably have heard this, but for those of you who haven't, they're coming out in November, presumably coming out in support of the new Final Fantasy holiday collection. I have seen orders in Europe. It looks like there's a scene box. It looks like there is some sort of Chocobo bundle. I don't know what the hell it is. If they don't do a collector box, their entire management team should be fired. The fact that there's no serialized card in Edge of Eternities, and it looks like there's probably not in Spider-Man and supposedly in Avatar either, after crushing it, again, their management team keeps swinging from, hey, maybe they're figuring out, to, oh no, they're still idiots, or competent, whatever you want to call it. So we'll see. We'll see. That being said, I think what was interesting, and if those of you remember way back when Strixhaven came out, months beforehand, there were rumors that it was going to be a Harry Potter set. That never came to fruition. I don't know if there were issues with the licensing rights or if there was some political bullshit with J.K. Rowling or whoever based on political bullshit. But some of the new items that came up for pre-order this past week are Harry Potter items, specifically for Magic. So the rumor is the next Universes Beyond set is going to be a Harry Potter set. It makes a lot of sense. I know they've been talking about it for a long time. I'm sure they're going to come out and say, we've been working on this for 7 years, because they probably couldn't get the licensing done for various reasons. So that'll be interesting. I think that would be a pretty cool Universes Beyond. But we'll see. Again, just rumors, just sharing with you guys. So moving to Pokemon. Have started to get allocations for Edge of Eternities. Probably going to get some more this week from some of the bigger boys, the bigger distributors from our perspective. Did get our first allocation for the premium figure collections. What I'm told is the total number of premium figure collections is a good amount less than the super premium collections that Distro got, which is a little head scratching. So I would imagine these to be a little bit more scarce than the SPCs when they came out. Again, remains to be seen. This I talked to 3 distributors about just relative quantities, and they all kind of echoed the same thing. So, that being said, again, Mega Evolutions looks like we're 10-15% above what they got for Destined Rivals, which is a good start, but it looks like the set's an absolute banger. It doesn't look like a base set at all. They're certainly not calling it a base set. Whether it's intended to be a base set and they're ignoring it because they've learned their lesson, or it's just going to be a small little block of 4 or 5 sets. The Mega Evolutions one set is going to be an absolute home run. It doesn't matter what anybody says at this point. It doesn't matter that there's a little bit more supply coming into the market. The cards look awesome. So, that being said, I did a couple of videos this week on stealth reprints. And for those of you who are in the game here, the Ogerpon Mask EX box that came out that had 10 packs. I've been mentioning for a while that this new 10-pack thing seems to be a trend that the Pokemon company's pushing. But until I got them this past week, I didn't realize that it's 5 packs of Twilight and 5 packs of Temporal. So it's the first time that I've seen an EX box that has a concentrated number of packs in a limited number of sets. Normally you'd see, 2 packs of like 5 different sets in there. That's not what they're doing. So that being said, we have this this Venusaur box that's supposedly a GameStop exclusive. I don't know if that's the case or not, but it looks like that is going to have 5 Stellar Crown and 5 Surging Sparks. And then we have this big dog right here, Salamence and Reshiram. I'm going to take these and I'm going to put them right on the shelf. It looks like they have 5 Destined Rivals and 5 Surging Sparks. Probably the best EX box from a mix of packs and sets that we've seen. So I just want to make sure you guys kind of see that they're pushing a lot of packs into the market in ways that they haven't done it before at this level of magnitude and concentration. So it's really interesting. This Mega Latias box, I think, has 4 or 5 packs. Let's see. Yeah, 4 packs. So this is basically like the Hopsation box with a giant Latias card. So it's really interesting the direction they're going here, just to get more packs into the market. It really kind of leads me to believe that some of those early sets, and again, Temporal, Twilight, Stellar, they don't need massive reprints. It would crash/crush the market in every one of those instances. Now, maybe Twilight could take a little bit more, but the other 2 sets certainly can't. So this is a way to get more product out there without damaging the value of your ETBs and your booster boxes, etc. So it's kind of interesting to see how they're doing things. One thing I do want to remind people is Pokemon had their release their offsite in Texas. I think it was back in April or May. I don't recall specifically. And they had mentioned to the distributors, again, this is secondhand, that they can't free up meaningful print capacity until Q1 of 2026 because all of the print space is sold. Now, we do know that they moved a bunch of the European printing to the Netherlands, which has had its own challenges out of the United States. I don't know if that's officially transferred or not, because I know the black and white ETBs in Europe are all made in the USA. That being said, we're probably going to be tight here until Q1, Q2 at the earliest of next year. And it just kind of is what it is. Now, what's going to be interesting, as most of you know, when they come out with booster box reprints, they ship them with the newest release. So we're probably 6 weeks away from seeing what reprints are coming next. if it's not a sizable reprint of a bunch of older Scarlet and Violet booster boxes. I think it's relatively safe to assume that they're probably not going to go back and do that um, at this point in time. Uh, because look, the runway is starting to get tight. March, April 2026, and then you have these new sets coming out. You're going to have a new holiday set coming out. You're going to want to hit 151 at least one more time. And by the way, for those of you who hadn't seen, Walmart did a Gen Con release of two 151 booster bundles. I think it was $50 each. It was a really good price. So, generally speaking, when you start to see them, they also had them at Target as well. Started seeing them there. When you see Target and Walmart get 151 in, and really anything that you haven't seen in a while, that's kind of a leading indicator, because what I've seen in really the last year is that your Excel and your MJ holdings tend to get the products before distributors do. Because they're going to big box stores. It's a much wider net than what you have with distribution. So I've been cautiously optimistic that we're going to get a 151 reprint at the end of the summer here, and the fact that we're seeing bundles in big box stores leads me to believe that we are most likely going to see 151 booster bundles coming through distribution, probably the end of August, middle of September. Again, just reading the tea leaves here, but this is what's been happening for about the last year. So anyway, guys, that's all we have for now. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, and have a good Sunday.